we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Get this one then, because it only lets me do it after we start. Although there's a whole other thing I'll have to ask you about because you're more adept at these things than I am.
You can ask me anything.
All right.
I may or may not make stuff up. Let's see. Let's go to this way.
Yeah, I was the platform run by the guy who's in the news a lot lately decided to make it so that you couldn't stream to it without any sort of without paying them. So I stopped streaming over there. I didn't pay for the premium membership. And it says I can stream to Instagram or TikTok now, but I have to go into that account and tell it that it's okay after I start streaming. So I don't know. I'll have to pick your brain a little bit on
yeah. No, I stopped streaming over at that the guy who's really into the letter. Yeah, that one letter thing.
Yep. You tried to rename another website that letter.
Yep. Yeah, I stopped streaming there a while ago. So
yeah.
Also, your audience can't really interact with it. So I was kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Or you can't interact with the audience on that or something like that. It's weird.
Yeah, it was definitely closed off. It was cool because I have some friends, especially I find people out on the West Coast just like to use Twitter more. People I met out there use that platform more. So I named it. I told myself I wouldn't, but I slipped. But yeah, everybody, welcome to episode 110. We're lucky to have my pal Allison here with us. She's going to be working on a page of her original comic. She has one that was partly done and was partly hand lettered. So I'm sure we'll talk about how much we both enjoy lettering and all that stuff. So
put it in here.
Yeah, look at that. Nice interactive lettering with your image, factoring it in. So love it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this. I was talking with D-Dubs, Daniel Warren Johnson, and he's just like, no, just go for it. And I'm like, okay, then I will. So
just throw it in there.
His sound effects that way too. So
it's got a nice kinetic feel to it. So the other thing I like to talk about with hand lettering is that it doesn't look like it's sitting on top of the picture. It looks like, because it's your hand, it looks like it's just part of the picture.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It looks like it's more a part of it. So,
yeah.
But I may do some inking on that, but I do have some design work to do too. So I figure do some character sketches.
Nice.
I recently finished up a commission for. He's one of the Boston Comics Roundtable guys, Patrick Flattery.
Oh yeah, we all know Pet pops in once in a while, says hello. I haven't seen him in some time.
Just did that for him. His Zatanna piece.
Oh, cool.
Which I was referring to as Absolute Zatanna because I made my own kind of design costume choices for her. So.
You kept the hat though. So.
Oh God, yeah. No, the hat was necessary. I highly debated on drawing a rabbit coming out of it.
I can't say that wouldn't have been fun to see.
Bear with me here. I'm just checking things. I just want to make sure I'm seeing things right. Do we have any audience comments yet?
I don't have any comments yet. Usually it takes people a little while to come in these days, and that's perfectly fine. Usually it's 10 or 15 minutes in we populate, but
makes sense. Okay, I was just making sure that it wasn't me. So,
and you know how it goes. One person shows up that comments, and then the algorithm kicks it to other people that have been here before, and then they go, "Oh yeah, it's tonight." And
oh yeah, there's that guy doing that thingy thing
for the 110th time.
110 episodes. That's impressive.
So far, yeah. I'm hoping to do different types of videos once I finish Undersea Hero. If not flip throughs, just more art, more finished pieces instead of just streaming. But as we all know, editing takes forever. So.
Yes, it does.
And again, it's like I'd rather be making a little comic strip or something.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, there's Kevin. How you doing?
Yeah, Kevin.
Kevin is the. I would go so far as to say Kevin likes Aquaman even more than I do.
How is that possible?
He has this amazing collection of sketches in these like custom sketchbooks, and he's got sketches from everybody: Neil Adams, Jim Lee. He's got just amazing stuff. Robson Roca, the late Robson Roca, did a beautiful one. Yeah, he's just got an incredible collection of. And it's like everybody he meets, he gets more Aquaman sketches. So it's always fun to flip through those sketchbooks if you get asked to work on one.
Oh, that'd be really cool to see. Definitely have to say that.
Yeah, he was posting some of his artwork collection before, but I don't know if he still is. He's a busy man.
To be respected. Yeah, my original art collection is very small and slowly expanding.
Well, you got some good stuff. You've got that full figure David Finch of your character, which is a
Yep,
pretty
that.
sweet.
I have my own character, Rin, and I have a full sketch of Raven from him.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That great.
And I have a piece by Danny Warren Johnson as well from his Extremity stuff.
Multiple Eisner Award winning Daniel Lynch.
Yeah, his stuff I love. Everything he does, I love. So.
Well, I'm hoping that other companies, see what he has done with Transformers, and what Mr. Kirkman did is just hired and G.I. Joe. Like I was shocked that I read G.I. Joe and having never been a G.I. Joe fan, and I enjoyed the books. They just hired super talented people and gave them some room to run. So.
Yeah. No, his Transformers is really, really good. So.
And I was never a Transformers guy. Kevin says a nice Ian Nichols in his sketchbook. It was from a period of my work I called the tall period, and I was stretching out figures more to try to make them more dynamic.
Hmm.
I backed away from that quite a bit, and I think I've kind of gone to like a happy medium. When you first met me, Allison, I was drawing like squatty, short little characters,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to like fully stretched out, and then now the proportions are more dictated by the character, or not quite as exaggerated in either direction, unless it's like the Mole Man, or you think of Reed Richards being super tall or stretched out.
Yeah, I often refer to my the way I with my anatomy as action figure anatomy. So
Yeah.
I try to make it consistent, but it's also definitely an exaggeration.
Right now I'm doing that really exciting thing that it's going back and shoring up the filled in black areas of ink so that they scan better. It's very exciting.
That's always the fun stuff.
We're going to start another page as soon as I'm done with this. It's one of those nights where I had to hop on and just keep working because, as I mentioned before, we're behind schedule and we're going to be a little late, but we got to just keep on pushing forward and get it done as soon as we can.
Well, it'll be worth the wait.
Thank you. Well, had to move, had to get a different office job, so some light stuff.
Moved? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I moved not too far away, but
still down in the river.
No, not anymore. We are out of the rib.
Excellent.
Yes, excellent is right.
You got a new office job, you said?
Yeah, I've been working in the creative and marketing for the Steamship Authority for a while now. But yeah, it was just another thing that over the course of Undersea Hero, when you add factor in all the that goes into those two things, it's a lot of lifetime stuff that takes full attention. But still been working every day. I'm on here every week, so I just haven't done an update on the Kickstarter in a while. But I did write one, and I've got to just take a few pictures, and I'll have that up on Saturday.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm in the minority with when I back a Kickstarter. I don't generally follow it anymore after I backed it, but
Yeah, I only basically check when they do updates.
yeah,
When that's the only times I really kind of look at things. So
I've actually become the person who does a back without reward now. Just because, like, I don't know, I feel like I feel philanthropic that way.
well, that's fine.
Obviously, when there's a book I really want to read, I get the book.
Right.
But if it's a thing where they're doing something that's bigger than I can fit in my apartment, which has become something lately where people have like these oversized books and stuff, where it's like, I would love it, and I want you to be able to make that, but I just can't fit it in my house.
Right. I completely understand that too. I mean, I have a similar problem since well, small studio apartment.
Oh, when I say house, I mean apartment.
I knew what you meant. Exactly what you meant. So,
Home ownership for an artist? Is that possible?
no, it's just not. And that starving artist thing is a true connotation.
Seems like when I erased this panel, some of the pen work started to get pulled up, so I'm going to go in and clean up some of the lines too, which is a little annoying. It feels like inking it again when you do that.
Yeah, that inking twice thing.
Yeah.
No, we got a hello, friends, from Ethan Ailman. Well, hello there, Ethan.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Kevin says we are patient, great workers worth the wait. I hope it's great. I hope that people get a few chuckles after a long day. That would be the most excellent thing I would love to get out of somebody getting this in the mail. You know, they're walking in, they got like 10 bags on because they just got back from work or taking care of, the kiddos or something. And like, oh, this book showed up. Oh, that was a delightful evening reading that book. That would be the best perception I could get, I think.
I agree. I think that'd be really good. I mean, I read your I think basically your Ashcan.
Yeah.
One. I loved it. So
thank you. The issue 0.
Yeah.
I kind of stretch out a sight gag in that, but I don't care because it made everybody around me laugh quite a bit. It was the like joke about perspective where he thinks that person is really far away on the beach, except it's a little kid.
Oh, I love that. That was great. I was laughing pretty hard at that one.
Undersea Hero is not the brightest pen.
Oh, your pet fish tag, Kevin? I'm so sorry. That sucks. As a person who is really into basically fish and everything, I can sympathize.
I'm sorry to hear that, Kevin. Kevin is also an accomplished scuba diver. He's seen all sorts of stuff all over the world.
Oh wow, that's definitely cool. My cat died a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nelson.
The symbol of Alley Cat Comics. My cat Hobbs. He passed.
Oh, it was Hobbs. I'm sorry.
Yep, it was Hobbs. He was old and fairly certain he was sick. But he died in my arms right after he bit.
It's always tough.
Because, you gotta get that one last bite.
Yep.
Yeah, I was very depressed for a bit, as could be imagined. So. But what is it? Rocket and I are looking for a new cat as well. So
Oh, looking for a new roommate. Let's see.
yep, that's basically what it is. It's another weird roommate that poops in a box.
Sometimes that's cleaner than a regular roommate.
That's also true.
Doesn't make any dirty dishes to leave in the sink.
Well, that's even better.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I miss him. I mean, I had him for a while. So I mean, he was 15 or 16, right around there.
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact year I got him, but I had him for quite a while. So
this page is relatively done for right now. I might go ahead and clean up this space after. I think this page is relatively done. Probably go in and clean up the space a little later. But
yeah, fix it in post, as they say.
well, one of my pens, as I was drawing, the tip broke, so like one of the lines got a lot thicker than it needs to be. So I just got to go, and it's so small, I've got to use a brush with the white out. So
Oh,
it's got to be real teeny tiny. But yeah, these 4 panels at the bottom took like way longer than they should have. This little pile of guys that Undersea Hero throws the spongeman into. This took far longer than it should have.
Keep my white out right here. So yeah, I need the brush. Otherwise, I have a bunch of Poscas.
Yeah, this is even too small for like the Pentel pointers and stuff. Like it's just right along his cheek, between his eye socket and the cheekbone. That needs to be cleaned up a little bit, and then
Yeah, that's
there on his
brush
lower
work.
lip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going in there and dabbing it with the brush. So
Yeah. But I will put it to the side. What I'm doing is, as I'm finishing pages, I'm just piling them up, and then before we go too far at the end, as I'm sort of scanning or anything, I'll go through and pull out anything that needs a quick little redraw. Before we, I've got, thanks to the Kickstarter, I've got some money to pay a friend of mine to do some of the flats, so that'll be helpful.
that'll work.
And honestly, the lettering won't take that long, because I would not say that I am like, old style Jim Shooter or Chris Claremont writing. I'm not overly verbose.
That's fair. Yeah, I try not to go that crazy myself with writing, so with my lettering too. So
I don't know. It's just always been with like genre stuff, like superheroes or science fiction. I've always cut the dialogue and the exposition way back. But when I do like a period or like a drama, I bog it down a little bit. I wonder why that is. I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
well, there's always the show don't tell. So
Yeah, you're right. All right, and on this
we are a
page,
visual medium.
my board. The camera does that sometimes. There we go. All right, this is the prelim for the next page, page 35. I am going to make a few little changes, I think. I do want to change the perspective here just a little bit.
A little slightly off.
The audio?
What?
The audio?
No, I thought the perspective was a little weird there.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I'm not sure the vanishing point.
Yeah, that, and also I just because of where Liquid Lad is standing and then this one is standing, just the proportions are off. So what I'll probably do is pull these guys forward so they'll be bigger. So they'll be like framing the panel a little bit more over here.
That makes sense.
And then you'll be able to see a little bit more of the horizon there too. So that should help with the background. I mean, the weird thing.
Help amazingly.
The weird thing about this scene though is like when you're underwater, it's hard to establish the perspective a little bit without like the ground. So I'm trying to, with this part, because here what they're trying to do is turn Liquid Lad into a spongeman by putting a sponge on his head, and that's what's happening in this panel here. You see the sponge being held over his head and little tiny sponge strings are like heading down to his
head. I love that so much.
And it's just him yelling. So And then what happens next is he's of course saying, help, help, help me. And Undersea Hero sees just some fish swimming by, and then he grabs one and then he smacks the guy like with the tuna.
It's so good.
It's very simple, but I'm hoping it's effective. And of course, the little spongeman, the stupid gag with the spongeman is that the sponge is all pantomime, whatever the host body is doing, or the dummy body, however you want to call it. Like that's why on the previous page you see when, the person is doing the, so is the sponge. So, and then like when they're getting thrown and the arms are up and the mouth is open there.
Yeah, that's up too. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So like anytime they're pointing at something, the little guy on his head is pointing at it, stuff like that.
I love it.
It's a stupid visual gag, but it works. I mean,
well, I mean, I would expect nothing less from one of the artists of the Tick. So
it's true. But I have gotten a few messages about Baltimore. With Undersea Hero, I don't know if I'm taking any pre-show commissions, but I will be sketching at the show. So if anyone is going to be at Baltimore, or if they have one of those proxy services or a vendor or a friend or whatever, like that and the current Kickstarter for my friend Joe St.Pierre are probably the only opportunities to get original art for this year, if I'm being honest, because I don't want to put anything available until Undersea Hero is fulfilled.
Oh, I don't blame you on that.
And I've had a couple of people ask about when they'll be able to buy Undersea Hero outside of that, and like I said, it's when we get it fulfilled, I'll once the last one's in the mail, I'll flip the switch on the website. And I'll announce it on all the platforms and let people know.
No, that makes perfect sense.
I'm excited to see the yearbook at Baltimore, because you got all these different artists that are guests there doing the Tick, and there are people that I actually wanted NEC to hire that are doing stuff for the book. One of them is Dean Haskell. They posted his Tick piece on the Baltimore Comic-Con social media site. I just thought his style, and it showed off so well in the Fox series, his superhero kinetics. I just thought he would have been great doing something on the Tick. I'm wondering if there's going to be a Walt Simonson Tick, because he's going to be there.
That would be awesome. I need to get down to Baltimore. I haven't been there in years.
I haven't either. I haven't been there since before COVID. And it's an excellent artist-friendly show. It's at a time of year that it's a little bit easier to travel.
Yep. Yeah, because it's not the summer, but it's not like winter or anything. It's still not like quite fully fall.
The last time I was there, the Orioles had a home game, so like a bunch of us just walked over and bought tickets and went in and watched the game.
That'd be kind of cool.
It was fun, it's a small contingent of comic creators that are baseball fans, but we all pretty much know each other at this point. And my buddy Nate, who was a Reds fan, Nate Lovett, they were actually playing the Reds, so he was happy to go.
That's actually pretty cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. I have to check the schedule to see if it's true again this year, but my buddy Jeff McClellan, he's the writer I worked with on the Tick stuff forever. If he goes, he's a baseball fan, so I'd probably be able to twist him arm. Not if he goes, he is going, but if there's a game.
Yeah. If I went, I'd definitely try to go to the game with you guys if that was the thing. I like baseball myself. So.
Sox fan?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Through and through.
You gotta ask, just because like so many people in New England have different allegiances, just based on their parents, or because I was born actually in Connecticut, and in Connecticut, like it's 50-50. Half are Sox fans, half are Yankees fans.
Yeah, Yankees. So
yeah.
When I worked in Rhode Island for Verizon for a while, like half the office was Yankees fans and half of it was Red Sox fans due to like where you were. So
Yeah. I haven't been to Rhode Island in a little. I haven't been to Providence in a little while because they were doing all that construction on the bridge, so it was like really tough to get in and out. I got stuck in that traffic one time going to free play and to dinner, not like a concert or anything, but and we were in traffic forever.
I haven't been down there for a bit myself either. I used to live down there, but hey.
Yeah, I know. You used to be pretty close to downtown, right?
Yeah, I lived right in I lived like right next to Lovecraft's grave. When I could walk, I could actually walk to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you and my buddy Jay are both big Lovecraft folks.
Yeah, I like cosmic horror.
Yeah. I know they have like their own show now, the Lovecraft Society or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Lovecraft was Lovecraft is problematic, but his work is definitely fairly decent. So.
Yeah, so I saw like little. I was in like a random gift shop in not in Providence, in Eastie. It was like a bookstore, and there were like kids' versions of Lovecraft books and like stuffed little Lovecraft characters, which was kind of funny.
I'm actually doing a piece for a Kickstarter for my friend Travis. Doing a pinup for his what was it? Fairy Tales Meet Lovecraft.
Okay.
And I'm doing a Little Red Riding Hood and Ithaquah. Ithaquah, for people who don't know, is basically the Wendigo myth. I figured that would work as kind of a decent werewolf kind of thing, because he's kind of depicted that way in some stuff.
Desiree says Cthulhu plushies. Yes, that's it.
Yes,
that's exactly what it was.
I love Cthulhu plushies. I mean, for a while, at my desk, I had Cthulhu, then whatever year the election was, and I said, why vote for the lesser of two evils?
I still always go back to The Simpsons and don't blame me. I voted for Kodos. I consider myself fortunate because the other day on FX they were playing a bunch of like early Simpsons, like seasons 3 and 4. So it was
good episodes.
Right in my wheelhouse. I can watch that stuff just on a loop.
Yeah, I can watch the older Simpsons a lot. I haven't watched Simpsons in probably decades at this point, so.
I tell you, I still get bored and a little frustrated when I'm drawing some less than. It's like the less exciting panels. I still have to like plow through them or like figure out a way to like trick my brain into getting excited for them.
I completely agree. It's sometimes hard to draw the quote-unquote boring stuff, and then it's also hard to draw the quote-unquote boring stuff and make it look interesting.
Yeah, and that's the challenge. It's like, how do you tell the story sometimes and give it enough space and context for the subject matter and the motion or the action, and still like, because I tell you that middle panel with all the characters swimming at Undersea Hero, I drew that thing 3 times because like the first time I totally half-assed it, and it was just like it looked like art dummies with like doll clothes on the first time I drew it, and it was just everything was stiff. There was no I didn't even notice it, but drawing characters swimming, there's only certain ways the limbs move. I had basically everyone's right arm up and left arm down. So I had essentially manually copy-paste drawn like 7 guys, and it just looked so boring.
Yeah, that sucks. So
So
I'm
I ended
assuming
up,
you went back and made changes.
I just threw that whole page out. I actually have one of the ones that I cut up somewhere around here. Because I did cut one of the panels off and use it
Hmm.
for the second attempt. This was the second attempt. I even redrew this. I redrew everything. Like, I would even consider inking this face and then pasting it up over that face. But yeah, here's the panel I cut out just because I liked it too much to redraw it. I've got so many of these from the course of this. Like, I'm probably just going to toss them into some of the Kickstarter backers because, like, here's like the process art.
That that's actually cool though. I like stuff like that.
Yeah. So what have you been reading lately? I know you're better than me at keeping up with the new stuff.
I read Gail Simone's new X-Men series.
I
I read the
actually
first
did,
issue.
I did read that as well. What did you think?
I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm looking forward to the next issue.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a huge X-Men fan, so I'm definitely intrigued by what they're doing. Um, and her little setup at the beginning that's like, oh, it's totally not probably Professor Xavier, but hey, it works.
Yeah. I think Gail's a very good writer, and I'll definitely give issue 2 a shot for sure. Um,
Mhm.
I'm interested to see what's happening with that Fawn character because it reminds me of some other characters that have been introduced elsewhere. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to give any spoilers because it's still relatively new. But I'll say I'm definitely in for the next issue, and I'm interested to see where the setup progresses.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna get issue 2. I'll probably give it to issue 3. Um, but yeah, I was looking forward to that. Um,
I haven't tried any of the other X-Men new ones. Have you?
I read through X Factor and I actually got annoyed with it.
Okay. All right.
I do not like it when creators break other people's toys. Is the only way I can say it.
Yeah. Do you know if Colossus is on any of the teams? Because he's my favorite character, and I haven't seen him on any of the promo stuff. Or is he just kind of sitting out for the moment? I don't think.
I think he's sitting out for the moment. I don't remember him in anything.
I don't think they killed him off again.
I hope not.
Although I do put his death as one of the better ones, just because like it was so him.
Yeah, it was self-sacrifice, and given everything that happened to him, it made sense.
Yeah, he wanted to cure the legacy virus that killed his sister.
Yep.
I thought that was actually a well done ending. Like he's my favorite character, and if that had stuck, I would have been okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree that the his ending was good. I just again I didn't like it when they killed Ileana either. So
No.
granted, her death was good. I mean, the way they did it, it was good. It just annoyed me.
Yeah, for a little while they stuck him on X-Force, basically the mutant kill team for a little while, which was weird.
Yeah, that didn't really make sense to me either.
I don't know his whole journey of like when he went to be an acolyte and stuff. People didn't like it, but I loved it. I thought
I liked the acolyte stuff because that made sense to me.
It did. I agree.
I mean, after everything that had happened, and he blamed Xavier. I mean, it made perfect sense to me that he would have joined Magneto.
Desiree, I missed it. Said a good one. She says, "I drew synchronized swimmers." I did. That's exactly what I did.
That's exactly what you did, and that is good. That is very, very well put.
It was so bad. And I know when I flip through the pages when I'm done, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I want to redraw all of this," but I'll have to try to look at it with fresh yet productive eyes instead of. And keep that in mind. Like I always try to tell myself, and most artists do, is does it read? Like, does it tell the story enough? So I might even have to hire an editor for a pass through.
I was doing a bit of an experiment of an idea. I highly doubt DC will listen to me or whatnot with something, but I was intrigued by their absolute line. So I started designing my own absolute characters that I would love to do for a book. And of course, I have my absolute Raven.
I would expect nothing less from an Allison pitch to involve Raven, if not all the Teen Titans.
Yeah, the Titans are great. I was loosely calling it the first Titan. I made her a lot younger than she typically is. So she's only like 13 at most. Then I put in my absolute version of Amenadiel from the Lucifer series. Because I'm like, that would be a suitable villain for Raven.
Yeah.
I have some sketches of Trigon, but I haven't done them out yet. But my take on Trigon is very, very different. He is the best way to describe him is basically darkness and blood. And he like forms up. Like I was kind of intrigued by Medusa's hair, how she forms it into different things.
Oh yeah.
So what if it was like this darkness that takes shapes and it like winds darkness into things, almost like tendrils that form shapes and things? And that was kind of my idea.
And they would create cool visuals to draw.
Yeah, that was the other reason I wanted to do it. I didn't really want to draw a giant, like, devil-looking guy, because I'm like, he's supposed to be more of an Eldritch horror, so...
Yeah. For those who don't know, Trigon was a Titans villain that was from the Wolfman Perez run.
Yep.
We get a mixed bag of comic fans and non-comic fans. You never know if my uncle will pop in.
Fair enough. That's something to keep in mind.
I've only seen passing images of the absolute stuff. Like, they've hired really talented, again, like, I trust talent. I don't trust the brands.
Right.
And they've hired talented people. So, like, that tells me that even if I don't love the visual immediately, that, like, I should just at least give the read a shot.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it, because I'm very intrigued by the talent that they've gotten for it.
Yes. I mean, and I'll just say it, like, first shot of the Batman, didn't love it. But hired such talented people that I'm still going to check it out. And, like, it could be awesome.
Yeah, I was like, that's a very different interpretation of Batman. And I'm like, I'm giving this a shot. Because I like the art, so,
yeah.
But I agree with you. He was kind of weird. So I was like,
Because I lived through Giant Suit of Armor... Azrael Batman, yeah. So,
yeah, I did
like,
too.
And I loved the Kelly Jones interpretations of it, and Graham Nolan had some cool ones, and Norm Brayfogle was around then. So he had really good artists that made it look cool, but like and it was in the storytelling that it worked, not necessarily always in the stagnant images, like creating cool movement. I trust that there's a purpose behind the designs for the storytelling, even if in a single image it doesn't always sell me.
I'm interested in the aspects of it that's he's like this iron worker or something, and I'm kind of like, that intrigues me, that he's not like rich.
Yeah, that is it. Immediately an interesting storytelling take. And everybody knows, I've said it many times on this stream, I'm not the biggest Batman guy. Like, I don't generally buy Batman comics unless somebody really interesting is writing or drawing it.
No, I'm kind of the same way. I like Batman, but I don't go out of my way for Batman stuff.
We all know those people that buy Detective or Batman every month, no matter what. And they enjoy it, so more power to them, but I'm just not that guy.
Same. I'm not that girl. Same. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm much more of I'm more inclined to buy Superman than I am Batman.
Yeah. I haven't read it in a little while. I usually check in every now and again, depending on if I hear it's like a, uplifting or lighter tone. I checked out that Batman 77 series. The last one I really liked was the anthology series Adventures of Superman, where they just had tons of different good creators. It was almost like Batman Black and White, but in color. You had Bruce Timm, you had Chris Samney, you had Steve Rude, you had all kinds of Amy Reeder.
Mm. Yeah, no, that had some cool stuff in it. I remember seeing those.
And now you see them in dollar bins. So I tell anybody, if you see those in the dollar bin, those anthology Adventures of Supermans, they're all standalone. So like you don't have to get the complete run.
Well, standalone is definitely good.
Well, I was just reading the other day. I was reading. I just bought some random dollar bins when I was at an NEC. Some books out of them, and I just picked up a few random issues of the Mark Waid Captain America run that Andy Kubert drew.
Oh, I like that run.
Yeah, and it was just the American Nightmare story, and I picked up in issue 2 of the series, and within the first 2 pages, I'm caught up. I know what's going on. I know all the characters involved, and I read that issue, and then I miss an issue because it wasn't in the dollar bin, and I read the closing issue, and just with those 2 issues, I knew what was going on, and I had a great time. I don't know. You and I grew up at a time when you couldn't always buy a trade.
Right. Because they didn't really make them that much.
Yeah. They had some prestige format, quote unquote, but like, I don't know. I'm trying to remember the first trade I ever saw, and it might have actually been like the Dark Phoenix saga or the Alien Costume saga, or the other one that I remember seeing early on, and I still have it. I'll look at the date on it. Is the just the 2-parter Days of Future Past bound together, basically.
Oh yeah, I actually have that someplace.
Yeah,
After I wrecked my issue 141 from reading it, 141 and 142 from reading them so much, I picked that up.
Yeah, and you can find that to this day, because back then, of course, they printed a bajillion of these things. But that was one of the early ones I remember.
I remember one of the first trades I bought was I got a lot of the first Ninja Turtle stuff.
Oh yeah, the first comics trades, yeah.
Yeah, the color ones. Now I had the issues, so I didn't really, but I was just like, these are in color.
Yeah,
I actually liked how they were colored.
I didn't have the trades of those until later. The earliest Turtles one I remember was the Jim Lawson movie adaptation, and I think that was from it must have been right around 1990 when the film came out.
Yeah, Eastman Laird did some layouts in that.
And they did the cover, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Turtles fan.
I still hope to see. I was hoping to get up to New Hampshire when Peter was going to be there, but I couldn't. I still have. I've been getting my 51 original art cover in the margin, signed by all the Turtles creators I meet. And Peter's like the last Mirage guy that's still around that I still meet. I've got like Steve and Jim and Ace and all those guys on there. I gotta get. Gotta get Peter if I ever see another show. The only time
I have a sketch by Peter.
The only time I met him was at that Boston Comic Con years ago. When I think that was the one that we met at.
Yep, that was the one of my first mate. That was the second time I met Peter Laird. The first time was in 1984.
At the near the birth of.
Yeah, I met them at that show. I was up in New Hampshire visiting my grandmother, and my dad had heard of this comic book show that was around. He knew I loved comics, so we went to it, and I fell in love with this crazy idea of Ninja Turtles. And that's how I got my issue 1.
Oh, you got in early, as they say. Yeah. I did hear somewhere, or I read it maybe in one of the Turtles groups, that it's actually harder to find an issue 1 that's not signed, because they were all early on, they were all hand sold by the 2 guys, basically.
Yeah, and they were basically signed at the show, and they signed like every issue.
Yeah,
So yeah, finding
exactly.
one that's not signed is next to impossible. I know mine are signed. I don't care.
Oh, I just found that interesting. I would want it
Yeah.
signed too.
Oh no, I agree with you. I think that's very interesting.
Want to keep his hands as it shows more of the. Help me. We gotta push this guy down just a little bit.
Trying to make this guy not look like too much like Vega from Street Fighter, but the notes were think of Vega from Street Fighter. So,
You mean like Vega from Street Fighter?
yeah, I sent back a reply. What about Balrog? At which point I got a nasty emoji back of basically F and U. So. For those who don't know, with Street Fighter 2, when they introduced the character Vega, over in Japan, he's not named Vega, he's named Balrog. And M. Bison is named Vega. And Balrog, who's the boxer, is named M. Bison. When they brought it over here, for some reason they thought M. Bison for the boxer might have attracted too much attention from a certain ear-chomping boxer named Mike. So they changed the names.
Well, it's marketing. You got to have the good marketing for your cartridges.
Exactly. And it stayed that way in most of the world. It's like only in Japan are the characters named that way, from my understanding. That's the only place where they're correct. But if you watch the original Street Fighter 2 animated movie, which is beautiful to watch, that's also the main thing that made Joe Madureira fall in love with anime and manga. There's a sequence where Chun-Li fights Vega, and in the original language version, when he drops down, she's like Balrog, and in the American version where they dubbed it, she's like, "Oh no, Vega!" And they have in the American version of it, there's this amazing KMFDM song playing while they're fighting. Well, the Japanese version has this like slow kind of romantic tune playing in the background as they're fighting, and it's just I much prefer the Japanese version because it's so much more like intense with the way the feeling of the battle is.
Yeah.
Vega's basically kind of like Freddy Krueger. So.
I played some Street Fighter at the arcade, but I don't know. It was a phenomenon at the time, of course, like when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Street Fighter series are probably some of my favorite video games. So.
I know they're still making them. So.
Yeah, then I have the new one, Street Fighter 6. I don't have the new content patch because I'm poor, but I have the first tier of content, so I'm happy.
So speaking in like a person who's not bought a system since PS2, that would be like an expansion pack.
Yep.
Okay.
Basically.
All right.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's funny, most of the video games I play are probably 20 to 30 years old, and then I play Street Fighter 6. So.
Because like there were some games, for PlayStation 1, famously, and I had it before they like stole all my games, was the British expansion pack for Grand Theft Auto 2.
Oh, I remember that.
Back in the day. And it was an overhead thing, and it was literally, it just made it so that you were doing the exact same game, just in like London.
Yeah, the original Grand Theft Auto was a very, very different game.
Yeah, it was overhead. It was like solving mazes almost.
Yep. Yeah, I like the original ones. I mean, I kind of like where they went with it later on, but there's something charming about the original ones.
Especially if you're a person that liked, like the overhead. It was more of like an action-based RPG rather than what it became.
Yeah.
Like, open world.
More than like a life simulator.
Yeah. And it actually got like some cool gamer points at that time because like someone who liked like my buddies and I that liked the Final Fantasy Tactics of the world were like, hey, this is cool because it's got fast cars, but it's instead of like a guy on a Chocobo, it's a guy in a fast car.
Exactly. I love the old Final Fantasy stuff. Actually, that's something else that I spent my money on. They remastered Final Fantasies 1 through 6 and released them again, and I'm like, fantastic. Bought them all.
I have to get the hookups to put my original Nintendo up to our more modern TV. So
Yep, I know that feeling. I know that pain.
I'm sure the wires aren't that expensive. I just haven't gone
No,
through the effort.
no, it's not hard to do that. I mean, there's a converter thing you can do, and also lots of places, lots of TVs still have a coaxial input, so you can just hook into that.
I think I have to get a thing that goes in that puts it into the digital input on this computer on this TV. I think
No, that's fair. You can get, yeah, they have crossover stuff for that.
yeah, I think that's what I have to get. Our last TV had the coax in the back, and I could still do it that way, but this one does not.
Current one doesn't.
Yeah, it's been that way for a little while.
That has kind of gone the way of the Dodo, so.
And I tried doing the workaround of like plugging it into the cable box because it has the coax, and then using like the cable switch to go into it.
To switch it through and have it do a pass through.
And
that doesn't always work anymore.
Nope, did not work. I thought I was being clever.
A lot of those companies turn off that pass through ability, so that's why it doesn't work. Having worked for one of them, I know this. So. That a person's like, I really want to hook up my VCR, and I'm like, it ain't gonna work. I'll have to do it the other way. You don't have a coax input, then you're out of luck.
Do not, I'm sorry.
This is why we have DVRs.
Although I was actually looking at, I wanted to watch some original series Star Trek because I'm old and I still like that.
I love the original series Star Trek.
And I was looking at, you can only stream it through Paramount, which costs X amount of dollars a month, or I can buy the complete DVD Blu-ray set of it for the cost of like 3 months.
Yep.
So it's like.
Sounds like you did what I did and just bought the DVDs. So
I haven't yet, but like that's where I'm leaning right now.
That's basically the exact same thing that I was in, the exact same position. I'm just like, well, I love the original Star Trek, and I'm going to watch it a lot, so I just bought it.
Yeah, and like, look, if I had Paramount, I would watch the new ones just because I'm interested, you know.
I like the first season of Star Trek Discovery, and I would watch Strange New Worlds. I just don't have Paramount, so.
Yeah, and I would watch Picard because
I watched the first season of that too, and I enjoyed it. So yeah.
I tend to find, I don't know, I don't put as much weight as other people do on some of these television programs. So it's like I'll get more superficial joy out of it instead of being like, well, we got to sit down and map the story structure of this episode. No, I just had a long day, and I just.
That is literally kind of my whole way of looking at anything to do with Star Trek. It's like I use it as like a comfort show to watch.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it work for me.
Are we really going to talk about whether or not a character like Q could exist?
The answer is no.
Oh.
Okay. The answer is probably slightly more complicated than that, but it's most likely no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And over the years, I met a fair number of the Trek casts, and I met John Delancey a handful of times, and he was always very polite. So.
I met what's her name? Who played Deanna Troy. I met her years ago.
Marina Sirtis?
Yeah, Marina Sirtis. Yeah, I liked her. She was really nice.
Someone is requesting, please expand. I don't know what that means. Expand on something we were talking about, or the drawing, or
is this the Q thing?
I don't know. Yeah. It just has a 2-word.
Yeah, please expand. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Neo Queen Honeybee is asking for please expand on why Q cannot exist. Okay, Q violates the laws of physics. That is the base way of why, at this point, you would need some form of... You would need to basically be able to show that you could do that, is the big way. Because he can just create things out of nothing, and that's... By the laws of thermodynamics, you can't do that. So, that's the big thing. It doesn't seem to manipulate, he just seems to be able to create. He's basically a god.
Now, see, I always thought of Q as not actually an entity, but as a non-focused consciousness or reactive force that interacts with people, and it's the people projecting in their mind what he looks like and is manipulated. Like that's
Again, you would need to be able to prove that something like that existed.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it could exist, but that's how I always thought of him. Like if I was writing the show, I would think of him as not being an actual person, but a shared construct that like Picard created that looks like this person. And if you remember in Encounter at Farpoint, he describes in great detail what he looks like, so that then influences how other people also see him.
Yeah.
And with Picard being the main protagonist of the show, I always thought we were seeing what he saw.
What Picard saw.
Exactly.
That's a fine way of putting it. And they reference that in some other episodes where they reference where he appeared to other people, and one of his names was Loki.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So...
That makes sense.
But yeah, effectively to do the abilities that he can do, and he does some very, very powerful abilities. I mean, when Q shows up in something, it's like something's going to happen. And usually there's some of the best written episodes.
It was always a big event when he showed up, because it was like once or twice a season.
I mean, I like the Q character a lot. It's just that he effectively has the power of a god. I was curious if they would have actually put him into Voyager, because he possesses the way to get them back.
He showed up in Voyager.
Yeah, no, but that was something like originally I was like, I wonder if they'll actually put him in because he has the power to send them back. And when he didn't, I was kind of like, all right.
I don't really remember that episode. It's been so long. I think the last time I saw it, it was on TV. Broadcast.
It was the War of the Q Continuum or something like that. And there was something weird going on with it. Of why he couldn't, but I don't fully remember. I haven't watched those episodes in a while.
For any young people in the audience, there was a time when you could not on demand watch episodes, and we had to wait once a week for the new episodes, and then if you missed it, you might never see it.
Yep. Yeah, but the big reason of why Q really can't exist is because he can violate the laws of physics. And it's basically if you make a claim on something, like if I say I got a new puppy, people have puppies. That's not a hard claim to people can be like, okay, yeah, you got a new puppy, that's fine. And if you didn't actually have a new puppy, all right, well, you're just a liar. And, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you have something that can now violate the laws of physics, that requires a greater proof of, because there's nothing we know of that can do that. So the best way to say that something like that can't exist is to say, I don't believe that exists. Could it exist? I guess there's tons of things in this universe we don't know. So yeah, there could be something that could do that. There could be some type of a proverbial consciousness that could do things like that. But from what we understand, it couldn't happen. It's kind of like what happened before the Big Bang? The correct answer is we don't know. There is some theory, or I should say, there's some hypothesis. I don't think they're even to the point of theories. This theory basically means we know what the hell we're talking about, or we have evidence to suggest things. So I'd probably say it would be more the common nomenclature form of a theory or a hypothesis scientifically of what happened before the Big Bang. This has been another session of Science with the Alley Cat.
I like the Jim Starlin explanation in Star Reach #1, where it's the birth of God, and it just is 3 blank panels, and then a blink, and then a pair of eyes. That was his little joke.
Yeah, I like that too.
He did that, and he did the birth of death in the same issue.
Yep, no, those are good. Oh yeah, I'm saying that Q couldn't exist in our world. In Star Trek universe, Star Trek is not a strict science fiction series, it's science fantasy. Q basically represents either the whole concept of what's his name? He coined the phrase of anything sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. Arthur C. Clarke had basically stated that. And I mean, I guess you can make an argument that he has like crazy technology levels, but you know, in Star Trek, he's effectively a wizard. So you just kind of go with it.
Oh, and those characters go back to the original Roddenberry episodes, because you had both Trelane, and then you also had the Guardian and the City on the Edge of Forever.
Yep. No, it's completely taken from the original Trek and then been modified. But yeah, that's effectively what it is. It's the whole idea of can you meet God?
And then those crazy episodes that have like Apollo.
Yeah, those were a little weird. Those season 3. Then you have Spock's brain. But yeah, no, saying it exists in the Star Trek universe, it's like, yeah, that's fine. That's cool by me. I'm suspending my disbelief that, we have faster than light travel. Granted, they're using the actual theory of faster than light travel that works, which is cool. And NASA's actively trying to develop it right now with warp drive. There's an amazing, I believe it's Mix. I think he's still alive. Alcubierre, Miguel Alcubierre, I think is his name, and he came up with the whole mathematics behind the warp drive. And I'm willing to bet he was influenced by Star Trek or Dune.
I read a ton of Herbert, but I also read a fair amount of Arthur Clarke, and I recently, about 6 or 8 months ago, he's written 3 or 4 books also that were like essays of his theories about what mankind would do in the oceans over time. And as someone who loves to study the oceans and things like that as an amateur, it was interesting to look at some of his things that came to be and some of them that didn't come to be. Like there absolutely have been year-round installations built on the ocean floor. They're looking at ocean current turbines instead of wind turbines for power generation, stuff like that. But there was one that I found particularly entertaining that did not come to pass, which was basically treating whales like cattle and making giant pens out of the ocean for like open range whale raising for meat.
That could be kind of interesting.
It was still just one of those where it was like, okay, buddy, that
was definitely an Arthur C. Clarke kooky idea. I like it.
But it was fun, and like different methods of, propulsion used in the water that he has theorized that didn't come to pass, but they were, interesting ideas. And,
one of my favorite experimentations was Larry Niven had written the infamous Men of Steel, Women of Tissue. women of tissue paper.
Yeah.
And that essay is hilarious.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I might have the name slightly wrong, but that's the basic gist of it. It's why Superman and Lois can't have kids.
The short story I generally recommend if anybody wants to read Clark is called Prelude to Mars.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's a short story. It's like 80 pages. It goes pretty quick, and I would say that it doesn't go into too much theory. It's a full just story narrative. It's fiction. It's really good.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. That's a really good one. Also, the other author I would recommend reading, if you like Arthur C. Clarke, would be Alfred Bester.
I gotta be honest. I have not read very much Bester. So.
The Demolished Man is fantastic.
I'll have to put that on my list.
I heavily recommend that. The series Babylon 5 pays a lot of tribute to Bester, considering also they named one of their primary villains after him.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, Walter Koenig plays him.
Yeah, I remember. I watched that show to a degree. I didn't really like. This was one of those shows where, again, like I don't know. I didn't get into it in the first season when the other guy was the captive person. So
yeah.
When Bruce Boxleitner came in, I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, it got better with the second season, I thought.
Yeah, it did.
Especially when Tron came in as the captain, so I was all for it. But yeah, no, I was a huge fan of Babylon 5. Also, I love the whole concept that it was effectively Lord of the Rings in space. Which was something that I really enjoyed. Remember going through the old Lurker's Guide to Babylon 5 and online in the early days of the interwebs and checking things out.
They'll never know the world without the young people. Will never know the world of the Yahoo and AOL message boards.
Oh God. That and the old Prodigy message boards and stuff.
Precursors to things like Reddit.
Yep. And Facebook. I mean, all Facebook is basically old message boards that are, more forums and all that you can interact with, on your own personalized wall. Yeah, no, I want to watch the last season of. Actually, I started the second season of Picard, and I need to finish it. And I want to watch the last season because I know they deal a lot with the Borg in those two seasons.
I haven't. I only saw one part of an episode when one of the years I was at San Diego. They had a big walkthrough experience because it was the first season of Picard, and it looked pretty cool. So I was like, if I get a chance, I'll watch this because Next Generation was like one of those we old man and I sit down and watch. When it came on, I think it was because it was sold in the syndication. It was on at different times in different places. So when it was on in our neighborhood, it was either Thursdays or Wednesdays at 8.
Yep. Oh no, not giving any spoilers. Definitely not. No spoilers. I said I haven't really seen it. I just know the Borg plays a role in later seasons.
Neo Queen Honeybee mentioned the Prophets. I was a big fan of
DS9. Yeah, the Prophets were amazing. So yeah.
So many excellent episodes in that series. Yep.
And they were definitely kind of out there.
Oh yeah. Was I the only one that was angry at Odo with how he decided to end his run on that series? Or
Yep.
they decided to end his run. I was mad at Oda.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy with that.
Well, just as the character with him and Kira and stuff, where they had progressed, I was like, you really gonna do that, buddy? It made
Yeah,
sense, but I was just like, it made me sad.
yeah, I like Dodo a lot. Yeah. Quark and Garrick for the win. Yeah, I would agree with that. I love Garrick. He's an amazing character.
I never read the book that the actor wrote. Have you ever read that?
Is that the one the actual like the whole thing on the
It was like his
I haven't read it,
backstory.
but yeah, I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with it.
I've heard people talk about it. I've just never read it. He wrote like an entire book about Garrick.
Yeah, I haven't read that. And then they also had the Ferengi Rules of Acquisition book, which I thought was good, but I
Yeah,
never read that either.
I read a fair amount of the Star Trek novels when I was in high school, just because it was like they were super easy to read and they were fun. And like we talked about earlier, like you couldn't watch an episode on demand. So if you
Right.
wanted more Star Trek or whatever, or Star Wars or whatever, you had to get a book.
Yep, no, completely agree. That it's like with Star Wars. I mean, I read all of the tie-in fiction that came out with it because it wasn't like I was getting any more Star Wars. And then the prequels came out, and the world changed forever.
It really did. Yeah, I went with my, even though I was not like the craziest Star Wars fan, I went opening night to the episode one.
Yep, I did too. You know, Queen Honeybee. I always wanted to be a Vulcan, but I'm a Ferengi. The Lopes. Yeah, I have an idea for a Star Trek story I'd love to do. Um,
I
it's
did
because
it.
of Deep Space Nine that I got the idea because I love the character. Actually, it's two places. When they first introduced the race of the symbiotes, um, Jadzia Dax is one of them. Uh, I can't think of the name of the race, but I want to do a series where, Dax's race. Yeah, Jadzia Dax's race. I want to do something where there was one of them on a ship or something like that, and there was technically, and like they were transporting another one that dies, and they have to transfer the symbiote, but the other person like went through like their entire life where they wanted nothing to do with the symbiote aspect, and now it's basically like, well, do I take this person into me to become part of me, or do I let them die? And it's this whole thing of, the societal way of looking at it / also bodily autonomy kind of built onto it of this. I think it'd be really cool and it'd fit Star Trek, but I'll probably never be able to do it. So
Yeah, IDW just renewed their license, so you can always. I never had any luck pitching that office, but you can always try sending something their way.
I guess I could try that. I think I'd probably have better luck with Ninja Turtles, but
Yeah, the only story idea I ever pitched to the Ninja Turtles office when I was doing those covers was I wanted to do. There were two, and they were both short stories. I basically told them like I could do them in 8 pages. You could do them, split them as two backups, or do one backup. Because at the time they were doing TMNT Universe, which was all one-offs and shorts.
yeah, I remember those ones.
Yeah, one was the basically the early life of Casey Jones, mixing with what he's doing now and what he's thinking about when he's out there doing stuff, and like the things that he learned as a hockey player. Uh,
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
and it would have, and it's mixes by knowledge of hockey and comics, and like the type of player that a guy like Casey Jones would have been, and him, whether he was willing to goon it up to stay in the league or try to have a role, and then like utterly something happens to where he can no longer be a player. The other story I had was just I always wanted to do a Rat King Splinter team up, just because I thought it would be great for the
That'd be pretty cool too.
like a Rat King Splinter like buddy cop story.
That'd be really cool.
Where they're forced to team up for one little ride.
Yeah, I could get behind that. That'd be really cool.
But they
want
said
to do something with Jenica.
Yeah, they keep tossing her occasional miniseries here and there, so she's still around.
Yeah.
Has Jason Aaron's version come out yet? The new relaunch? I know they had stuff about it all over San Diego.
I think it's out. I'm not positive though. I want to say it just came out, but I'm not positive. I'd have to go and look. I think Ethan's asking if the comic is still scheduled to come out in November.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Kind of interesting to look at this.
That's what we're aiming to do. One way or another, it has to be done. So this page shouldn't be too bad. It's, unlike the last one, which had 23 figures on it, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
23 figures, damn.
This one only has, I would say, 10. But one panel that's just a hand grabbing a fish. So this one should go pretty quick, comparatively.
Oh, God, I remember I used to do crazy amounts of panels on pages. I had one, I think, that I had something like 17 panels on the page.
So on the prior page 34, I remember when I was writing this, and I had created a situation where Professor Prong just tried to launch the big weapon. It crashes, it doesn't work right away. So the correlator basically says, fine, I'll send my minions, and it says Spongeman attack. And I didn't want it to be another delay that lasted too long, so I had to speed up that fight. So that's why I condensed the number of panels up on this page. This was originally going to be like just a 3-panel mouth opens and then next page fight. I was like, no, I gotta make this one page because we've got to get it over the finish line as far as the weapon being Krill Force being unleashed. So I had to make a small sacrifice there. If this were a 6-issue series instead of a 3-issue in one book, that would definitely be that one page right there would have been 2, maybe 3 pages.
That makes sense.
But when people read this, they're going to notice that the story cooks along. There's no waiting around for stuff to happen. There's stuff happening on every page. So
I kind of like the idea that you basically did 3 issues as one.
Beginning, middle, and end. You know, it's not.
Yeah, you get the 3-act structure immediately.
Let's. How did you plan your writing structure? Well, let me tell you. And I've actually had this come up recently again. The book that I recommend to people that want to start writing or really start to look at their writing from a different perspective of maybe, if you think your stories are too complicated or you've got like the 10-volume story and you don't know what to do with it. How do I simplify this? There's a book called Writing Under Pressure. It was by my college advisors named Sandy Kay. He was one of the first adults in the U.S. to be officially diagnosed with adult attention deficit disorder. And he was part of the early studies into what that meant. And he was a writing teacher and an English teacher, and it took him years to write this book. And it's not very long. It's 175 pages or so. But like the way that he had to teach himself how to write better, and he's a phenomenal writer, with his disability was totally different from how other writing books described how to write as I had been reading them. And
Can you send that to me? The name of that book?
Yeah, absolutely. And I I can't recommend it enough because so many times they're like, well, read this book about writing or read that book, and they all have similar like stereo instruction style way of teaching someone how to write story structure. And for someone with attention deficit disorder, it's really difficult to go through a list directly, translate that into your brain, and then take that organized list and turn it into applied structure. So Sandy looks at it from the structure end backwards a little bit, and then he kind of gives you different techniques to ensure that your drafting process becomes a shaping process rather than trying to follow stereo instructions.
That sounds pretty cool, actually. It sounds. Yeah, my writing structure is weird. I basically do what Tarantino does. I just kind of write out scenes and then figure out how they connect. So,
Do you do note cards?
yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how a lot of screenwriter friends, do it. Rich Woodall and his writing partner on Johnny Raygun,
Hmm.
they would do the note cards. Um,
Yeah, I basically do the whole note card thing. I write down my scenes on. I flip it over and then I draw it.
oh, okay, that's
I
cool.
thumbnail everything out, and then I take those thumbnails and kind of redo them digitally and print them out, and then I do all the drawing
That's
over
interesting.
the thumbnails.
Now, see, I got to ask you this because it's been fascinating. All my artist friends have different answers, and I don't think I've asked you this. Um, when you go to draw, what do you see in your head? Do you see the final image? Is it in color? Is it something you're trying to trace? Do you not see anything at all? Like, what do you see in your head when you're drawing?
It depends. I play things out like a movie. Like right now, when I'm drawing this character here, as I said, the notes I have are literally. He looks like Vega, but not. So that's kind of what I'm going with. I'm actually trying to figure out what he looks like right
I just,
now.
and I'm sorry, I just the Trill. Wasn't that the name of
The
the
Trill,
PC?
yes, the Trill. That was the name of the race.
I did not look it up on my phone. My hands have been here.
Nope, it's perfectly fine. I was going to look
Okay.
it up later because it was bothering me.
Okay.
Um, but
So
yeah, no,
sometimes, so you see a movie.
yeah, I do everything out like movies, but I always think of my stuff either as animated or as film.
So when you're trying to draw something, are you trying to get the moving to stop, or are you trying to?
Trying to find like the scene in between.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if Neo Queen believes you, Ian. Though was it really not using your phone? Hmm?
I, I believe Allison will vouch for me of not being as technology savvy as to be able to do something without my hands and look something up.
That's very true. That's quite true.
I know people can do that, but I'm
Oh,
not.
I can do that too. I could mute my mic and just basically ask my computer right next to me to find what I'm looking for, or my phone. But yeah, she's still not buying it though. That's fine. That's fine. Doesn't have to.
Hey, sometimes those ideas come at the crazy times.
Yep.
While I'm out jogging, whatever, there's certain times where the brain relaxes a little bit. The idea
Yeah,
presents.
so I'm trying to find like when I'm thinking about it, I try to find like the spot in between, basically in the frame that would look the coolest.
Because I was on a panel with St.Pierre and Craig Russo, and this question came up, and it came up again on a thread the other day, and I got to see a whole bunch of other people's answers, and it was just fascinating. Craig doesn't see anything in his head when he's drawing, and I find it amazing. Like he knows, like if he was drawing, like he used an example once of like if I was drawing a picture of my dad, like I know what his hair looks like, I know what his face looks like, his nose looks like, but he doesn't see it all connected together. He's almost going through a list that he can't see and like working it out on paper.
That's interesting.
I found that fascinating. And then like Joe, he apparently sees the image perfectly, but he has the frustration of not being able to like project it out and trace it. So he's like chasing this perfect image in his head, and I would find that so frustrating.
Yeah, no, that would drive me nuts too. Because,
And
yeah.
no, and then I was in between where like I have kind of an image where it's like vaguely shapes, but I'm going for a feeling, and that's why you'll see like, and I think it's one thing that frustrates people about some of my work is that there will be a distortion or something or an intentional abstraction that doesn't necessarily translate or make sense all the time, but when I'm drawing it, if it pushes the expression or the movement in a certain way and it moves that feeling to where I'm trying to get like the emotion, that's what I'm always leaning more towards that than like photograph. Like even on this one headshot of Undersea Hero, like I know that his teeth, if we were to draw his skull, his teeth would need to be a little higher, his nose would need to come back a little bit. His
Yeah.
eyes are pretty there on. The cheekbones are pretty there on. But like, there's little things like I bent the teeth a little bit to make them gnashing a little more, to push it a little further. And there's certain things like I even extend this side's eye socket a little bit towards the nose so that I can give the brow a little bit more of a furrow. Um,
Yeah, no, I like that though. I like the look of him. Also, he's literally got the Bruce Campbell "if chins could kill" thing going.
Yes, that's very much Bruce. Also, the name of my cat is an influence in the Nichols household.
Now that's fantastic. Oh, I guess Neo Queen does believe you. She's just
Oh.
being a douche. Her words, not mine.
Well, thank you. I can rest easy tonight when we finish the stream here shortly. Because my day starts super early.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're getting close to the end, right?
Yeah, I usually go till 9:30 these days. Like if I go till 10, I can't get to sleep quick enough, and getting up at 5:30 is a killer. So.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that.
But I think we made good progress. We finished 34. We got the top panel and a half or so penciled here of 35. And we got to talk to you and hang out, which was just lovely.
Yeah, I got to hang out with my buddy, who I don't see very often.
It's true. I do not get out of the house at all.
I don't get out of my apartment very much either. So
I'm glad that we can at least stream together.
I got to ink this. My stream on Friday, I'm probably going to draw Cyclops.
Oh, cool. Is it going to be your version, or are you going for like a different specific suit, or?
It'll be a combination of my own version with a bit of the X-Men, like the Jim Lee X-Men look from 1990.
Okay.
Basically, I was kind of on a big X-Men craze because of the series, the X-Men 97. That was Leonardo was working on.
Oh, that looks very cool.
Thank you.
I like the foreshortening on the front arm. It's very good.
Oh, thank you very much. That I was very proud of.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Optimist. I saw that one.
Yep. I'm trying to find the X-Men characters. I've done a few of them already. I did Cable, but I gave that one away because it was inspired by a friend, and I gave it to him. So
That was nice.
Rosetta study that I did.
Hey, I know who it is. Which one is that? Is that Luana?
Yeah, it's the Beast Woman thing. I forget,
Yeah.
but yeah. So that's the Gambit I was doing.
I'm amazed how he's kind of made a resurgence these days.
I've always liked Gambit. So
Yeah,
kind of
me
fun
too.
draw. I still gotta mess with his chin a bit, but hey,
I
agree.
I still feel like we in the storytelling that we kind of got left behind where they always hinted he was the lost Summers brother, and then they
But
turned
never
it out.
did anything with it.
They didn't do anything with that, and it turned out that the lost Summers brother was Extreme.
Yeah.
Adam X.
My variation of Wolverine.
I always liked the big hair on Wolverine. Always.
Oh,
did.
I love drawing the big hair. That's my favorite part of drawing Wolverine is the huge hair.
Yeah.
And that's my Jubilee.
The second Wolverine sidekick from our reading heroes.
Yep. He's always got to have a teenage girl with him.
He's got to have a
And not in a
sidekick.
creepy way.
Well, very nice, and we're gonna wrap it up this evening. So thanks everybody for coming out, and we'll be back next Wednesday. I'll probably be inking the next page, and I hope everybody has a wonderful night and a lovely weekend. Thank you again, Alan.
Well, thank you for having me, Ethan. Ian, I love it. I just looked at Ethan's name in the thing, and it made me say it. But yeah.
I know. That's all right.
We'll talk to you later.
All right.